The road to the Super Bowl is long and pointless. I mean, when you think about it.
Football's so great.
But now, the two conference champs must survive a harrowing bye week that no one enjoys.
Bye weeks. Bronco Nagurski didn't get no bye weeks, and now he's dead. Well, maybe they were a good thing.
TBTL.
There are two types of people in this world. Those who like Neil Diamond and those who don't. My ex-wife loves him.
I have a hunch that we'd all be a lot happier discussing this over dinner. What do you say?
You guys like Italian?
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
No. Yes.
No.
Yes. I love Italian. And so do you.
Yes.
I thought you was in Hawaii. A lot of people think a lot of things about Hawaii.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I'd rather be up here with you than down there with those teenage people with their memes and their hashtags and Drakes.
That's the voice of the youth of America.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Monday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
So all you do is get busy?
My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host.
We are living in the midst of a podcast boom.
Coming to you from South Beach in Miami Beach, in Miami, in South Florida, in Florida.
The Miami Meat Tent.
Where it is, boy, the rumors are true. It is warm down here. It's like 80 degrees, 82 degrees here in Florida, where we are taking a little bit of vacation. Well, not so much of a vacation that we're not doing TBTL, because this right here, my friends, this is something that taxes, death, and TBTL. Three things you can't get away from, both as a listener and a creator of it. So here we are, bringing you episode 4,649 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
You know, I got rid of Twitter a couple of years ago because I didn't like the direction it was going, even though Twitter was something that I thought about a lot, that I posted on a lot, that I got a lot of my, I guess you could say, enjoyment, self-esteem, dopamine hits from. But I've adjusted, and I've moved all of that attention now to TikTok. And now I feel like I might have to walk away from TikTok.
Going to be a sit-down comedian on Tiki-Taki.
Don't I get to have anything anymore? I guess I get to have the Seahawks going to the Super Bowl, which is making me feel, of course, very happy today. But then the federal government of the United States is killing its citizens without regard. And that's something that has me feeling extremely upset, as I know all of our listeners are feeling as well. And this is what I am trying to figure out how to hold on this Monday as we do this show, the things about the world that are good, which include I'm in a sunny place with my girlfriend, and my football team did a good thing, and the things that are bad, which we all know about. And what's the focus of what we do here? I don't know. Maybe this guy knows the answer. He is the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships.
Believe it or not, I'm a complete catch.
He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
I mean, I guess the irony is when the NFL is the good thing.
I mean...
Good morning, Luke. Are you?
Good morning, Andrew. Have you ever wanted me to say maybe he knows the answer less in a toss to you? I realized that was so unfair.
No. I felt bad.
That was me just spiking the hacky sack directly into the ground at your feet and going, "Hey, do something with this, sir."
We were joking before the show that you were going to offer me to be the first voice on the show today. Hey, kid, it's your big break. Hey, you want to take the reins
Andrew,
today?
I've been thinking. I think you're ready. Hey. You should crack the mic first here on the show.
No, and the funny thing is, I hesitated before making that joke because I wasn't trying to get into a conversation about all of the social and all the ills of the NFL either. I wasn't trying to undermine what you were saying, but it was really weird. It was obviously, I think, a very troubling weekend for almost everybody within the sound of my voice. And it was very strange going to the Eagles yesterday to watch the football game.
So that's where you watched it.
Yeah, so I watched football game. Okay. Your brother was there, by the way. We had another pretty good contingent of the fun-loving criminals were there, along with some other friends. But I remember waking up on Sunday for real and just thinking, like, it's kind of hard to care about football right now.
Yeah.
And not even, I mean, that's just a private thought. I'm not trying to, what was the phrase everybody was using a few years ago when you're trying to make yourself look like you care more than
Virtue signal.
Yeah, I'm not trying to virtue signal. It really was like, God,
Yeah.
okay. Like, and, you know, I'd been looking forward to this game, obviously, all week, and then the weekend was so dark, what with, as you mentioned, the government executing innocent civilians. Murdering them, and on camera, and then having the media
lying
sort
about
of
it.
both sides it, and then, and it's like, oh, and it's upsetting
I mean,
what's
lying
happening.
about it, saying that he pulled a gun.
Yeah.
That was their initial statement, and it was provably false.
Yeah, and you can just literally see that is not the case. He was disarmed at the moment of his execution, and also, but then also all the things you hear about, well, he was a domestic terrorist, or all the absolutely just infuriatingly hateful things that are going on in the country right now. And you wake up and you're like, oh, hey, football. But then I got to say, you go to the Eagles, you're in, you know, I'm not on blue sky, I'm watching the game, and it was true that, like, not long into the game, not unlike a lot of drugs, you're locked in, and the rest of the world sort of was closed out for about 3 hours, and what a game that was, and that was amazing. But you're right, and then I think this morning, then you wake up again feeling a little bit like kind of hungover from everything, and not just the just copious amounts of alcohol that I drank yesterday. Just kidding. We mostly kept it in check. I think nobody literally fell over this time, so that's good. So we're making improvements there. But anyway, yeah, so it's for those of us who have no interest in football at all, or certainly this very specific Seattle football experience, you might be wondering what the hell we're doing on the show today if we invoke any kind of celebratory attitude. But I also don't know exactly how to navigate this any better than you.
Yeah, I feel like because of this used to be maybe a once every 6 month conversation we would have to have, or maybe, you know, once a year, where it was like the events of the world were so upsetting that they were pushing their way into our minds, and it felt almost like we were being irresponsible if we didn't talk about it on the show. And yet, something about the show that people love, let me put it this way, I don't think that our listeners are unaware of what's happening in the world. In other words, I don't think that if we tend to just talk about our lives and things that are very meaningless, like me forgetting to put the garbage out on time or whatever, like, I don't think that we're doing that, and that means that our listeners will not be aware of the events in Minnesota. I think our listeners are aware of the events in Minnesota, and some of them will say to us, what I like about TBTL is I know where you guys stand on things, but I like having an hour break from the reality of the world. That's what TBTL provides for folks. So that's always in my mind, that we're like a little calm from the reality storm, and that is, people appreciate that. People need that break. And then on the other hand, I don't ever want it to seem like we're, you know, like we're whistling past the graveyard. We're closing our eyes, because I do really feel like at this point being non-political is a political choice. Like, I don't know if I've always believed that, but in this moment, I do think that that's really the thing. I think not having an opinion about what's going on there is a choice in and of itself, and one that I really can't wrap my mind around, people feeling that way. And so this used to be something that would come up not all the time, and now because of what's going on with this administration, I feel like we have this conversation like once a week, either off air or on air, which is like, how much should we be talking about the real tragedy of the world versus how much should we be trying to be a place that is a little more fun and light, and where people can kind of like just have a moment of respite. In fact, even like this morning, so I'll just give you the timeline. Becca and I flew down here on Saturday, and came here to this Airbnb in Miami, and of course I sit down on the couch, and I think she was like taking a shower or something, and I just immediately go into the most intense doom scroll of all time about what had happened in Minnesota, and I'm just like completely and totally wrecked by it, to the point of being really emotional, you know, like having a really kind of I don't know if I'd call it a breakdown, but I had a pretty hard time with it, let's just say, as I'm sure so many people did, particularly our friends in Minnesota, especially. And then, you know, yesterday we we got up here and it was a nice day. The weather has been unseasonably warm here, which by the way is strange considering part of America is like completely frozen, and then somehow you could still be in America and it's 80 degrees, which is a metaphor probably for something, right? Had a very relaxing day, and the whole day it felt like this tension of like, we're sitting by a pool at the condo that we rented, and there are people that are protesting in Minnesota. And like, we literally, like on Saturday night, Becca and I, because she lived there in the Twin Cities for a good while, and we really asked ourselves, like, are we being irresponsible being in Miami right now? Like, is our responsibility to actually go to Twin Cities? Just be 2 more people in those crowds. Like, I'm not saying, and that I'm really not trying to say that to virtue signal, because we also didn't do it. That's my favorite kind of virtue signaling, the kind that involves no actual change in behavior on my part, but only considering it for about 4 minutes.
But publicly considering it, though, too.
Now publicly.
Yeah,
I mean, the issue was previously it was private consideration, but now I've been able to make it public.
If nobody sees your signals, then you can't
if a virtue falls in the woods, did it get signaled?
If a virtue falls in the wood and nobody is there to see it, did it get signaled?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not trying to say that because we're here. We're still in South Florida. So, but I'm just saying that was literally that was a not crazy, that would to us was not outside the realm of possibility on Saturday night. It was like, what do we do about this and how we're feeling and what's happening in the world, and what do we do to try to be responsible people in this country, right? And then, so the whole day was really a lovely day, and it also was, the whole time I felt like I was being kind of an evil person to be enjoying the loveliness of the day. And the Seahawks game finally came around. Oh, by the way, remember we were talking last week about like how, and this is before we knew the further events in Minnesota and how that would kind of cast a shadow over everything. But last week we were talking about like, where should Becca and I watch the football game here in Miami? Because she's not a particular Seahawk or football fan, and we're here. It's kind of a birthday celebration for her, and I can get insane when watching the football game. Here's where we landed on. We watched it here in the Airbnb, which ended up being perfect. And because they have a big TV, but I was able to like log in with my YouTube TV. So they don't have a TV here that's connected to like channels, but because I have that stupid streaming service, any big TV that has an internet connection is basically my TV at home. So we were able to get the game, no problems. We have a balcony here, and so what I could do is pace around, and I could go out on the balcony and like scream in the direction of the Atlantic Ocean when I was feeling too nervous, and then I could come back in. I spent the majority of the game, the second half anyway, on the balcony watching it through the windows, and then coming in and out, and then updating Becca on like why that was a big deal, or why I think that we should consider taking away Reek Woolen's helmet and sending him home mid-game. So it ended up being, because you and I had landed
or at least just make him wear one of the leather ones for a little bit.
Thank you. Like, but you and I had discussed that maybe the best way for us to watch it would be to go to like some kind of a beach bar or restaurant where the game is on, but it's not a sports bar, so that there could be like, Becca could kind of, I don't know, just not be getting the fully immersive 360 experience of Seahawkness if she didn't want to be part of it. This was great though, because she was very invested in the game. She was obviously very much hoping that I would be happy about the outcome, but she also at times was reading her book, which I found, I don't know how someone can do that with a maniac pacing between the balcony and the interior of the condo constantly. But
it was a John Madden book though, right?
It was actually Nicolas Cage's biography of the version of John Madden that he played. You know that, right? You know Nick Cage is playing John Madden in a new movie?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And Christian Bale is playing Al Davis. What a movie.
What a movie. I'm trying to I don't know Al Davis's look.
He looks nothing like his son.
Okay, yeah.
So he doesn't have that weird haircut that Mark Davis has, which is so funny. It's like Al Davis was actually kind of a cool customer.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at him now.
He was the guy who famously said, "Just win, baby." And he would wear these like gold glasses with like gold glasses chains on them. I mean, he's a terrible human, but he was he kind of cut an interesting figure.
Well, he seems to cut more of a figure that Nicolas Cage would inhabit better.
Well,
that's
Nicolas
my
Cage
thing.
is John Madden.
Well, that's what I'm saying is why my brain is locking up on this. I feel like I could see Cage being Al Davis better than John Madden.
I think I don't know if Nicolas Cage actually gained some weight or they used some prosthetics, but they heavily augmented his look to make him look like John Madden. What I'm really going to be curious about is if he nails the John Madden impression, or if they just try to do one of those things where it's like he's not doing a John Madden like vocal impression. He's just kind of, we just at some point have to believe that this guy is John Madden.
Oh, and we have photos of him as John Madden. We're this far.
We have photos.
We're this far into the project, and I'm just learning about it.
I think it's done.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm way behind the ball on this. I'm sorry, Luke. But I mean, the good thing is we are covering the important things today. Wow, that's really, yeah. Okay. I'm seeing, okay. It's more convincing than I thought it was going to be. That's for sure.
But the watching it here actually was great. We did. I want to be very careful. I don't want to sound like anyone's policing my behaviors, particularly Becca. She's not. But we agreed that a good thing for me with watching this game, but keeping it fun, was we would have some alcohol here, but it would be Michelob Ultra. Mm-hmm. So I got a 6-pack of Michelob Ultra. And what I realized is, you know the maximum number of Michelob Ultras I can drink, Andrew?
6?
1.2.
No.
And I was working hard on the 0.2. I had just switched over to my Diet Dr. Pepper by the third quarter because, like, one Michelob Ultra, like if it's a hot day, it's kind of refreshing. It's kind of like, ooh, that hits the spot. That is the most number of Michelob Ultras I think any human being will voluntarily consume.
Wait, hold on. I'm
confused.
I thought it was going to be because you don't drink beer much, and so you found it to be like kind of filling or something. But no, this is specifically
got
this
bored
brand.
with it. It's just
brand.
it's such a you know, I'm not a beer snob at all, and I definitely like a cold Budweiser now and again. But like a Michelob Ultra, the thing about Michelob Ultra that it's lower calorie, lower carb. I think it's 4.2 alcohol. But the idea was like, let's do that, and let's not grab a bottle of tequila at the liquor store and have that be the thing, like where I'm doing a victory shot every time a good thing happens, because that could, lead to me being in foul temper if they don't win, or even in foul temper because a bird landed on the balcony. Who knows?
Right.
So
can you remind me in a moment, by the way, like, can you remind me to come back to tell you about our booze purchase in Vegas?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, that's more or less the end of the story. Is we watched the Seahawks game. It was really obviously super tense. Ultimately very rewarding. Then we went for a walk to find some ice cream in South Beach, and I was, again, the real events of the world are still like in my mind at all times, but it's undulating. It's like sometimes if I'm not standing in a Rita's Water Ice, which they've apparently franchised down here to Florida, and ordering a custard, if I'm not doing that, it's like what's happening in Minnesota and in this country. It grows and it grows and it grows, and it's like it's 50% of my brain, and then something else happens. I'm engaged with something. I'm watching the Seahawks, or I'm on the LA Times this morning reading articles about how Sam Farmer is saying that Sean McVay lost this game for them. And then the part of my brain that is thinking about this country, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it goes down to 10%. And then I finish that article, and then I'm walking towards the other room to put on my running shoes, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Does that make any sense? Like it's just, it grows and shrinks based on how much I'm distracting myself with other things. And then we're sitting this morning having coffee, and we're both kind of I'm on my computer getting TBTL ready. Becca's on her phone, and her feed pops onto one of these kind of citizen journalists on TikTok, and they're doing the thing that a lot of the citizen journalists that you and I probably see on our feed is doing, which is they're just pointing out in another new and novel way how messed up this is. And they're comparing it to something. And I don't know if it was something about, it being broadcast from her phone, or because I was reading the LA Times about how Sean McVay messed up the game for the Rams, which gives me great joy. But all of a sudden I hit this moment of like, I don't want to hear anything more about this right now. Like I didn't say that, but like the thought, you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden it was like, I've been ingesting information about Minnesota a lot. I've had moments of it being a bigger and smaller part of my brain. All of a sudden it was like, okay, now I need it to not be part of my brain for the next 4 minutes. And I guess my point in that is I don't know where each individual listener to TBTL is on this Monday as they hear this. I don't know if they're in the mode where it's a really big part of their brain and they feel seen by us talking about it, or I don't know if they're in that mode that I was in, where they're like, "Can I just not have this for a moment, please?" You know. So I don't know what the answer is. I've done nothing here except point out that Rita's Water Ice has franchised to South Florida.
You and I are similar in some ways in that I also visited the LA Times today to see what Bill Plaschke had to say.
I read Plaschke.
Did you?
I read Plaschke, my friend, and
did you see?
I reread his prediction.
Yeah. Okay, for people who don't know, and Plaschke, very lovable, by the way, sport and kind of iconic.
Yeah, you probably know him from your LA
sport.
days. You guys probably booked him sometimes.
I don't know. I definitely, I probably learned of him when I was down there as somebody who was not, super into sports and super into LA culture. But anyway, he wrote, and the Seattle Times reran it.
They did.
They printed it on January 20th, which would have been about a week ago. Rams are going to win the Super Bowl commentary. And I think the Seattle Times ran that as a bit of a,
locker room material.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is Bill Plaschke. And then when you click on it, it says, Bill Plaschke, if the Bears miracle can't beat the Rams, what can? Nothing and nobody. And then it begins, now do you believe? And finally, do you understand? The Los Angeles Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. I was reading this, 6 days ago, and then this morning at some point in my bleary mind, I was like, what's Plaschke cooking up today?
Yes.
After that, locker room
let's
material.
Give him credit. Let me give him credit. In today's column, he linked to his previous column.
Oh, did he? I didn't get that far in. I was looking to say he was talking about McVay as well, and I was reading, and then at some point I set it back down. But that is good. Did he comment on it, or did he just link to it?
No, he linked to it, which I give him credit for, because he was basically, he was pointing more eyeballs towards how wrong he was, but he also didn't fall on his sword, as it were. Like, he didn't say, the Rams lost and I was loud wrong. He basically said, like, I think he did a clever joke, actually, which was something like, the Sean McVay's decisions, led to a game the Rams should have won. And I think should have won was a hyperlink.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Which is kind of a funny, what's the hyperlink? What are the letters? What do the words say?
So it says it all added up to negatively impact a game the Rams could have won, and then the link is should have won. Now, here's one other thing I'd like to tell you.
That's kind of a funny way to say I was wrong, like they should have won it.
If he's the one who puts the links in the articles, which I'm not 100% convinced of either, that could be somebody else.
Wow,
they might just have
so funny.
He might. My guess is some things he probably does say, hey, I want this to be a link here. But I also bet you when they're linking internally to other articles, I'm sure the people who basically print it are making some decisions too about we should cross-link to this.
We've got this other piece that we wrote that sheds more light on it.
Yeah.
That would be the funniest thing of all time if he did not tell the copy editor or whoever it is, his editor, hey, can we link to this here? And they just threw that in. That would be the funniest trolling of him by the LA Times staff. I would love that so much.
Yeah. So anyway,
so we were both reading. We were both hearing the lamentation of the Rams fans this morning.
Yes, I did.
As a way to sort of, I think the term dissociate if that's really in vogue right now. You probably don't get as much sort of people of a certain age on TikTok talking about, I don't know how I would put it, but the term, I just totally dissociated. That comes up a lot. And sometimes it'll be just like, I was at Starbucks ordering something and they were out of it and I dissociated. I'm like, did you? But I do think that I kind of have been, like a lot of people, cycling in and out of of how much I feel like, and again, I'm very far away from the issue. I'm not physically in danger. I'm not trying to center myself in the story. I'm just saying, in this moment of my life as I'm living it, there are times where I feel like I need to know everything I can know about this, and I need to watch every video angle, and I need to know more about this victim. And then there are times where I'm like, I need to see Bill Plaschke embarrassed.
Right, exactly.
A
man that I generally like, I want to say, by the way.
No, I think he's a
lovable man.
That's a hard, listen, I give Cold Take Calkins a lot of grief on this show, Matt Calkins for the Seahawks, but it's a hard job to have a sports take, and it's more interesting when you do. So, I mean, listen, even on the, I like to have takes on the Hawk, our text chain. And I called this a George Halani hero game earlier this week. Loud wrong. I'll hyperlink back to that. But I do give guys like Plaschke credit for going hard with the prediction there's a 50-50 chance it's going to work, right? And if it works, you look like you're, you really know what you're talking about. So I don't
actually,
begrudge him
in his
going
case,
hard.
he was going hard with a 1 in 20. It was he had a quarter of a chance. How do I say that? Because when he wrote that, there were still 4 teams vying for it, and he was saying that they would win the Super Bowl.
I guess you're right, because you're right. I meant 50-50 chance for the Seahawks, but you're right. He's also talking about the Super Bowl. So he's
25%.
Somehow that
chance,
prediction is getting compounded in a way I can't do the math on.
25% chance? I don't know.
It was a bigger. You're right. It was a bigger swing than I was even giving him credit for.
But anyway, I wanted to. So basically, that's where you and I are today.
We don't have the answers.
We don't have the answers. We don't have the capacity to maybe balance these things as gracefully as we would like to. But and again, maybe this is literally the definition of virtue signaling. It is important for me that the listeners know that we aren't, as you say, whistling past the graveyard or ignoring everything or being, purposefully myopic either in our lives or on this show. I think we do have to, discuss it when it comes up naturally. I also think, and this goes for like kind of everything we talk about. I know that like people like to complain about, if we talk about sports too much for their particular taste or politics, although we rarely, I don't think we get people saying too much like, hey, lay off of politics. If anything, maybe we get encouraged to talk about it more, but whatever it is, I really do think the important thing of this show, to the degree that, anything is important that you and I are doing here, Luke, is that it does sort of flow from where you and I are as individuals and as a team on any given day. And that is kind of the, it literally has to be organic in that way. And, maybe this is me subtweeting some people who will sometimes say like, well, why didn't you give us a warning that you're going to talk about the Seahawks that much? It's like, well, because we didn't go into it thinking we're going to talk about the Seahawks.
You have us confused with two guys that have a plan and can stick to it.
Right, exactly. And if it's not the Seahawks, it's something else, and I'll often encourage people to say, hey, listen, like there are podcasts that I absolutely love that I am addicted to that I listen to like on the reg. Even there are some now that I listen to twice because I want to maybe stare away from the direct harshness of the news for a while, but not everything on every podcast is for everybody, and you can fast forward through a thing or two. But the point is, though, if you and I feel like we're constantly walking around sort of landmines of content because, well, have we gone too far on this, or is this the right place in the show to bring up this whim that has occurred to me? I really do think you're going to end up losing whatever makes this show palatable and
it's not possible to do this 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year if we're asking if we're trying to not ever say the wrong thing at the wrong time or leave out the wrong topic at the wrong time. You're exactly right. The only way this thing is sustainable for us anyway, with our current staff of 3, is we got to do our best. We've got to basically reflect where we are in any particular moment of time, including how we feel about the Seahawks and Rita's Water Ice and how we feel about Minnesota, and just kind of do our best and hope that people take it as a good faith effort, because we're just not going to ever nail it perfectly.
Yes. Now, having said that, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about my mindset during this game. Do you want to hold off on that for a little bit later?
Well, here's the first thing. I want to hear about what happened with you and alcohol in Las Vegas.
This isn't a
Then
huge
I want to
deal.
thank the donors.
Okay,
Wait, can I lay this out? I've got a plan.
Okay.
I just said we're 2 guys with a plan that we stick to.
Right, exactly.
That's what we're known for. I want to hear about your Las Vegas alcohol situation. Then maybe we thank the donors. We knock out a quick top story. And then fully, we'll probably be in the Badlands by then, and then we could just really talk about your watching experience and anything else that we want to say about this football team, which I'm, as you would imagine, pretty friggin' hyped about.
Yeah, well, the Vegas story is not. Saying I want to hear your Vegas alcohol story definitely sets it up for more dazzling details than what I'm going to be offering here. This is not a super exciting story about craziness. It's more about budgetary concerns. I told you that when we were in Vegas, Genevieve, who is very cost conscious of things. Yes. I really don't think she's a cheap person, but definitely, and as somebody who
I always have to say this if I can at this moment of the conversation, which is that Genevieve is very cost conscious, but very generous in my experience. And I think you are. I don't know if I describe you as cost conscious. I would describe you as a person with a pretty like light footprint. Like I don't think you need to buy new, flashy, expensive things for your own self, for your own enjoyment. You'll make, an audio board work for years after its shelf life. And yet you're very generous also to people and to causes and things you care about. So like, I do think you and Genevieve live like really well within your means, but you're also like, just, you guys are great to be out with and around with. And so you guys have somehow kind of nailed it. I'm a fan.
Okay, great. Well, you are picking up dinner next time we all go to dinner
100%.
together. Okay. But I do think that maybe living with Genevieve, and again, I appreciate this. I think that maybe I do wonder, would I take the bus as much as I take the bus if I didn't live with Genevieve for 25 years? I guess we haven't lived together for 25 years, but you see what I'm saying. Like, Genevieve was gone this weekend. Boy, I really am turning this into a stem winder, aren't I? Genevieve was gone this weekend, for example, and I wanted to go have a nice meal down at 13 Coins, Luke. And by the way, it was... Now I'm just going to turn this into like 4 stories on top of each other. But sometimes when Genevieve is gone for the weekend, I get excited. I'm like, ooh, Andy times, which never makes sense because Genevieve doesn't stop me from doing any of the things I want to do during Andy times. But sometimes you're just like, ooh, I have the house to myself. I don't have to consider anybody else's schedule or feelings or anything. I can do what I want. But then I always somehow blow it. Either I fall asleep too early, or I just feel like I didn't take advantage of the time right, or things just didn't work out well. Well, Friday, after you and I recorded the show and I did kind of a minimal approach to newsletter writing, I hadn't eaten all day, and I had this idea in my head. I'm like, I want to go somewhere. I'm still sort of chasing that sort of cozy bar feel. I had about maybe...
You tried Vaughn's.
Yes, I did do Vaughn's, but they were really, really crowded the last time I went to Vaughn's, and it wasn't quite as cozy as I wanted. And I always thought, like, well, 13 Coins is a little bit of a longer ride, and this is a restaurant and bar that used to be down at the bottom of Denny Hill in Seattle and used to be open 24 hours. And you and I clocked sometime there with some listeners and friends of the show before, but it's moved now. It's down kind of where the stadiums are. It takes me about, it would be about a 45-minute bus ride down there or something. And I just thought, it's a nice place. They have nice food. It's well appointed. And I knew that they had this area that I describe it as a bar, but I guess they call it the chef viewing area, where you can sit in these
big captain's chairs,
really tall swivel captain's chairs, basically at a bar, only it's not a bar. You're watching them cook there. But there's like, I don't know, you've been there, like 15 of those chairs or something. And when you sit in them, they're like, there's the back of the chair is so tall that it goes above your head and curves around you a little bit. So it really gives you a sense of like, you can socialize in those chairs, or it can give you a sense of being in a little cocoon. And I knew that I was very near the end of this book I was reading that I've really been loving and been sort of milking a little bit because I didn't want to leave the world. And so I'm like, it's time to finish this book on Friday. I'm going to take the bus all the way down. It was a cold night. It was actually, early evening. But I'm like, I'm going to take the bus. Do I really want to do this? Yes, go down there. But the whole time I'm like, you have this idea in your head of going to this place and having a French onion soup. I don't even know if it's on the menu, but you have this idea of having a French onion soup and an IPA and sitting in one of those chairs. And you just need to really prepare yourself for this not being everything that you want it to be right now. Because when you get, Andrew, when you get so fixated on this cozy moment, it tends to not materialize, and then I have trouble like sort of rolling with it because I was so focused on it. Friday was perfect. It was so good. On the bus ride on the way there, I read books on my phone. I'm like, I know that I'm going to finish this book I'm enjoying within probably 10 or 15 minutes of sitting down. So what's my next big book? It's really hard sometimes when you're finishing one book and not wanting to leave that world. What is the next vine that you're going to grab onto? Will it pale in comparison? Do you want to, you know what I mean? Will it match the vibe or whatever? So I ended up kind of spending my entire bus ride choosing which Cormac McCarthy book to read when I got done with
that's
the Pynchon book. And so
you just want a very, very austere vine that gives you almost no hope.
It was was definitely, going from, I finished up the Pynchon book, Inherent Vice, and then went into this very, very different writing styles. Whatever. Anyway, but it was just like my time was used well, and then I got there, and like I was a little bit before the dinner crowd. I was probably getting there 5:30 or 6 or something, and so I had my choice of the chairs, and it was so cozy. And like I've been doing this thing, which I'm sure a lot of people have been doing their whole lives, but I'm trying to do more of, which is like not order everything at once, because I'm realizing I'm at an age now, like when I have a moment like that, everything comes out too quickly. Like if I order soup and a sandwich or whatever, the soup's going to come out and the sandwich is going to come out immediately, which is nice if you're in a hurry or you want fast service. But when you're going to a place because you're like, I want to sit here for a while and read and nurse a beer and nurse a soup. I don't know if you can nurse a soup, but I tried. And Luke, everything was perfect. Everything I ordered was perfect. I had some. You're not a big fan of those sautéed Brussels sprouts, are you? Or maybe were these roasted?
I like
or
those.
sautéed?
Okay, I feel like they went from 0 to 60. Like nobody was eating Brussels sprouts in restaurants, and then suddenly they're on every menu, and I've certainly had lots and lots of them. So I guess I don't get as jazzed now as I did in the first heady few weeks of Brussels sprouts showing up on the menu everywhere.
They did it. They just did them perfectly. They're exactly what I wanted. I got my onion soup to start with. A very friendly waiter. Everything was just absolutely perfect. Okay, why did I get on this? Well, first of all, that was another moment of escapism that I really truly appreciated and realized maybe not everybody can do. Also, the price was not bad, by the way. When I went to check out, I was like, I don't know, $60 or something for a really nice meal and a couple of beers. I was pretty happy with that. But Seattle prices.
Your move, Vaughn's.
Yes, exactly. That's right. Yeah, Vaughn's is the place where I ordered like a whiskey, and they did that thing where they measured it out super, super carefully and charged twice what like the dive bar down the street would do.
I would like to see them. Didn't you also get meatballs there? It'd be funny if they also measured the meatballs. In front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
They have like a shot glass, but it's roughly a meatball size, and it's got to fit in there.
Right, exactly.
Like your luggage on the plane.
If the meatball doesn't fit, it's too big. If the meatball doesn't fit, you must have quit. Anyway, point is, all of this I brought up because that was a very nice night. But what did I do? Well, while I was splurging a little bit, I still took the E line down there and back. My question is, if I did not live with Genevieve and she hadn't sort of instilled this sort of bus culture in me, I probably would have just taken a lift, back and forth, and however much that would be. But so I think I appreciate, this is all going back to my to me acknowledging that I appreciate that Genevieve watches the budget and has sort of instilled that in me in a bit that I don't think would come as naturally to me. I think that we've been together a long time, and that's one thing that sort of rubbed off. So we're in Vegas, but Genevieve is approaching Vegas as, what did she keep saying? I mentioned it on the show when we got back. She kept saying this is not a free weekend or a don't worry about it weekend or something like that. Like we're just not counting pennies. We're going to splurge. We're there.
Right, you're in Las Vegas.
We're on Las Vegas. It's a 2-day trip. It's a quickie. It's for our 25th anniversary. Like we're just not going to be like taking, because we have taken many times on vacation in places that one would describe as paradise. We have taken bone-rattling buses across town because Genevieve
I remember
public
hearing about this the last
much.
time you were somewhere in the Caribbean or South America or Central America, where you guys were. The bus situation was fairly sketchy.
Yeah, Puerto Vallarta kind of came close to breaking me as far as getting to the airport on a bus when I was dragging these bags around cobblestones, trying to figure out in a different language which bus was actually going to get us to the airport on our way out. But all of it to say is when we were in Vegas, we were staying at this, this nice resort or whatever, this nice hotel. And but then I'm like, we should get some booze for the room. Like, usually if Yves and I are going to be on vacation, it's almost always more than a 2-day trip. And so you're always getting, like, well, for maybe a cocktail before we go out to dinner or after dinner or whatever. So we went down, and I knew it was going to be expensive. We go down to the little store that's in the hotel. And right away, I'm like, this is not where you're going to buy the most budget-friendly booze. But we were sort of like, whatever.
I know that exact store that you're talking about because you guys stay in the Vidara, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. Across from the little bar down there. It's this tiny little boutique thing.
They're nice. It's a nice little store. Everything is kind of laid out really conveniently, but you're paying you're paying so you don't have to walk on that like overpass over to the CVS,
right?
By the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company.
Exactly. Which honestly, if usually I think Genevieve would have said that, or I would have even said it, like, well, let's just get the lay of the land, and like there's got to be like a CVS around here or something. But we were just like, let's just go the easy route on all of this stuff. So not long after we'd gotten settled, I think we come downstairs, we're like, oh well, maybe we had gone out for a little walk or something. We come back and I'm like, well, this little store down in the lobby is open, let's grab it. So we grabbed 2 of those small bottles, obviously not full fifth of liquor, right? 2 smallish bottles, not the tiny little airport bottles,
not an airplane bottle, but
like
the kind that you could potentially fit in your pocket and in your breast pocket, and then go and write the great American novel.
If it, but not, they're not
bigger than that.
They're not in that shape of the flask or whatever. They're a little bit bigger than that. But like, it was like we got a little mini bottle of, I want to say, Maker's Mark that still looked like a fifth of Maker's Mark, only it was like, half the size. It still had the wax on it. And then we got, I think, it was probably gin or vodka. I can't remember which one, like kind of a middle-sized bottle of that as well. And a couple of bottles of tonic, and they didn't have limes. And we're checking out, and I'm like, I know we're going to be overpaying for this. And then the woman says, do you want a bag? And I was kind of surprised. Genevieve said yes, and I'm like, we're going to be paying $15 or what? I didn't even end up looking at an itemized receipt, but I'm like asking if we want a bag from this very like checked out woman behind the counter who was like did not want to be there, and just gives us like this little tote bag that I don't even know where the tote bag ended up that says
I see. So it was like,
it.
Do you want a bag? It's not a plastic bag. It's like it's a fabric bag,
because everything about this place was a little upscaled, right? So I think that Genevieve kind of wasn't really thinking about it, and I was sort of like, we're going right up to the room, we don't need a bag, we could carry these. But Genevieve was like, yeah, okay. And so whatever it ends up being is like, so those 2, those things, 2 bottles of booze, this bag, and 2 bottles of tonic, I think it was over $100 or something like that.
Whoa.
It was really expensive,
Wow.
or maybe knocking on the door of $100 or something. And I was like, okay, whatever. We're not going to worry about it weekend. And then we go upstairs. Now, the thing is, I have told you before the expression that I like to lay on Genevieve on vacation. Like one time when we were in Hawaii and it was our first night there, and we go to the liquor store and I'm loading up on liquor and beer and stuff for our like full week in Hawaii. And Vives is like, do you really think that we're going to drink all of this? And I said, I think you'll be pleasantly appalled, which is an expression that lives with us. This was the one weekend where we were not pleasantly appalled because we spent so little time in our room. Genevieve, I think we did finish up whatever the clear, whether it was gin or tonic, I can't remember. We made some cocktails. We watched like part of a football game in the room before dinner one night. And I think we maybe did that a couple of times, but then I basically still had this almost full bottle of Maker's Mark that at one point I just ripped the lid off of and took a guzzle from.
Sure.
Just because I was like, well, and Genevieve's like, well, it's okay. I can check my bags for free. So I'll just have to check put your bottle of booze that I had hardly touched at all in my bag, and we'll check it for free because, she's in Alaska. She's got the credit card and whatever else. She's like, I can check it. Atmos, exactly. Well, it was more like at least, because it was not at most. We get there, and they're like, well, you got to pay $40 to check your bag.
No way.
And she's like,
Did you tell them that you know me?
Yeah, and she's like, no, I don't. Like, it's always free. And she even talked to somebody about it. They're like, I don't know. They're like, we're not sure. Genevieve and I are still not sure if she's misremembering it or if they changed the policy on her. But the next thing you know, we didn't try to drain that bottle of alcohol at the hotel, which I don't know if we really would have done anyway. I mean, once you get into a drinking contest, it stops being
I know.
fun.
It's like, what are we gaining
here? What are
here?
we doing here? So I'm not saying that our behavior would have changed, but the whole time it was like, oh, well, this is fine. We'll have a little bottle of Maker's Mark for when we get home. But then we're at the airport, and now we have this moment of like literally a full, not unsealed, but a full bottle of whiskey, and them saying, well, you can kind of throw good money after bad if you want to pay $40 to take this thing home that you've already...
Right, the cost of the bottle of whiskey to send the whiskey home or toss the whiskey and just take the bag on board with you and don't pay the $40.
And it's the only time I felt really bad for not being pleasantly appalled as we stay. And Genevieve's furious. I mean, there's not at me. I don't think. I think she's mad at Atmos, and just she's got squiggles of anger coming out of her head.
Situation. The whole point of getting those dang credit cards is one of the things you get from that is free checked bags.
Yeah, well, we didn't, so we had to like throw away this whole bottle of liquor that we massively overpaid
You didn't
for.
shotgun it in the airport.
I did not. We threw it away.
I might have considered transferring my anger into pleasantly appalling behavior in the airport and on the flight. Like, honestly, depending on what I had going the rest of the day, I could have seen myself in that situation being like, I mean, maybe not the whole bottle. That could get you literally physically ill, but just like, I don't know, if you're considering having a drink on the plane, why don't we just do that here
sitting like
faster
at the baggage
and then
carousel.
toddle our way through Harry Reid International Airport?
Yeah, that just honestly, that didn't. Genevieve doesn't really drink whiskey. She wouldn't want. I think it was. Oh, it was morning. It was morning. It was an early flight. It was an early flight too. Yeah, there was just like, but it's just such a weird feeling to like. Yeah. Just take this full bottle out of your bag in the middle of the airport and be like, well, I guess we're just throwing this away now. You know, this thing that I already had massively overpaid for. And it was Genevieve was pretty ripshit about that. So, but the good news is sometimes we aren't pleasantly appalled. Sometimes we show a little restraint.
We need all of the W's that we can find anywhere and everywhere right now. And that is a W that you actually underconsumed while in the hotel room from what your estimation was.
That's right.
Tell that to your doctor.
Are you listening, Doc?
Thank you, baby.
All right, let's thank some donors. These fine folks are keeping TBTL going day in and day out. This is 100% listener-supported podcasting, and it's thanks to folks like Ross Smith, who's in Dedham, Mass.
All right, thank you, Ross.
One of those Massachusetts places that I'm always wondering if I'm saying it correctly, but I think I did all right? Dedham?
You did great. In fact, I was thinking maybe instead of saying dead ass, because you tried that once on the show and you were mocked for it, maybe just say Dedham.
Yeah.
Just
low key, I could consider saying Dedham instead of dead ass. Low key, that might work.
Low key, we appreciate these donations, Dedham.
We do. High key, we appreciate these donations.
Indeed, yes.
Thanks also to William Hagan, who's in Beverly, Maryland.
No, Beverly, Mass.
Beverly, Mass.
Yeah.
Oh, M.A., it's Mass, like the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was a Beverly, Maryland. You know what happened? We've got a Maryland coming up on the list, and I just was I was skipping ahead. I am sorry, William. I apologize to you and the Hagans of Beverly, Massachusetts for misstating you. I mean, the most literal way. You cannot misstate something more than I just did.
That's a really good point.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like usually we're saying misstate, yeah, you messed up. No, I literally had the wrong state.
It was a misstatement.
I apologize. I don't apologize yet to Georgia Millward of Baltimore, Maryland, but you know, the night is young.
That's right.
Georgia, we'll see. We got another 15, 20 minutes of the show, so anything could happen. But thank you, Georgia, for your donation. Thanks also to Amy Phillips, who's in Spokane, Washington. I'm sure, well, yeah, I'm guessing Spokane is not in this moment part of, as I understand it, the band of cold, but it's this time of year. It's gonna be brisk over there. Amy, hope you're staying warm. Thanks to Kurt Pewterbra of Shoreline, Washington.
You might have added an R in there. Now I'm getting in your head. Did you say bra? Pewterbra?
I did.
It's Pewterbra, I think.
Bra. I messed up Kurt's bra. Kurt.
It's a ba.
Bra. I'm sorry. Pewterba.
Pewterba,
not Pewterbra. Although they both have. Well, now that's to me the R that I added. That was a factual mistake. The pronunciation, that one, I don't know. Agree to disagree.
Yeah, well, are you disagreeing with me? I don't know. I'm just saying it could be pewter, like you're saying, or it could be pooter, right?
It could be.
But you think it's unlikely, though?
No, I don't know, Andrew. I don't know anything.
Could it be putter? Could it be putterba?
It could be putterba. It could be pewterbra. It could be
it couldn't be
ba. It could be pooterba.
Mm-hmm. Aren't
So
pooter
the good
balls?
news is we've covered.
Yeah, pooter balls
we've
are
covered
something that
all
were
of the
served in
eventualities.
The cable guy, right? Or is it the what is the tape we play of Janine Garofalo talking about some kind of
that's
balls?
I believe that's Mr. Show, right?
I don't
because
is
Ben
that
Stiller
it's
is the
Ben
manager
Stiller
of
show.
TJ
Pooter Toots.
Pooter Toots.
Yes, that's Ben Stiller's show, I want to
Oh, that's the Ben
say,
Stiller
I
show. Okay,
think.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on with those Ben Stiller commercials? I couldn't hear them during the game yesterday. I could only see
okay.
them.
That's so funny. Last night when Becca and I were watching the game, I kept unmuting it during the commercials, and I'm sure she was like, wait, why are we doing this? And my thought was, I'm sure this will come up in a conversation with Andrew. And we were both trying to figure out who's the other guy with Ben Stiller.
I don't see. I saw the visuals of that, but I couldn't hear the commercials, which really gets into my plans for this coming Super Bowl. By the way, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh, I've got more on that
Okay.
too.
But anyway, so all I know is it looks like it was both like a full commercial, but a teaser for something that's going to happen during the Super Bowl.
It's the. Is it Uber Eats? Maybe it's
Instacart.
they're
I want to say
Instacart. They're previewing. Instacart is previewing their Super Bowl ads. They had one with McConaughey too, where he's being all
Uber
true
Eats,
true detective. Well, okay. So
just really quickly, so McConaughey's been doing those Uber Eats commercials for a while now, where it's where he's conspiracy theory minded. It's
right.
I remember the first one in the campaign about a year ago. It was pre Super Bowl. It was really, really funny, and they've maintained it. But that's Uber Eats. But then you have Instacart. I did see that where you had Ben Stiller and some other.
Well, that's really funny then, because I bundled them together in my mind. I guess because A, both of them are like kind of food or grocery delivery, and two, they both did the same thing, which was they showed you a commercial and then they said more coming, whatever it is, February 8th, 9th, whatever day the Super Bowl is. So both of those ads were previews for their Super Bowl ad. And I just, in my mind, thought they must all be working for the same company. So I guess we have multiple. I guess this is the thing now, is maybe you start trying to build some interest in your Super Bowl ad in the weeks before the Super Bowl, but by buying other ad time.
Yeah, the teasers. They've been doing this for a long time now.
That's been going on for a while.
Yeah, that's why Vives and I, we always end up doing like 3 shows regarding Super Bowl commercials. One about all the teasers, which ends up being a long show before the Super Bowl. Then the Super Bowl reaction show. Then the listeners get to respond in the last one. Last time our Super Bowl show, just the Super Bowl show, was 4.5 hours long. It was an hour longer than the football game, as I believe listener Max pointed out. So we're going to try to be more restrained this year. But anyway, yeah.
No, I would like
ahead.
you to get it up to 5 hours this year.
Genevieve refuses.
I love
she says,
that
I'm
stuff.
not doing it again. She's like, I'm not doing it again. I'm like, oh, we'll see. We'll see.
No,
but it looks like Benson Boone is the guy sitting next to
that's Benson Boone?
That's what the internet is telling me in its AI overview. But let me double check.
That's
this.
interesting. Okay, so Benson Boone, he is a musician. He's from like Maple Valley. He's from the greater Seattle. That's a broad interpretation of it. He's from Washington. He's very famous now for he's got this big music career going. He does backflips on stage. He sings that "Don't Take These Beautiful Things" or whatever song that's plays a lot on places. Anyway, that's Benson Boone. How interesting. I would not have been able to. There. By the way, the ad is pretty funny. It's like he's the little brother. Ben Stiller's the older brother. It's kind of unclear if they're like a sort of a, I don't know if they're supposed to be a Siegfried and Roy minus the sex, presumably, but like some kind of a brother duo of some form. And you've got Ben Stiller's kind of roasting Benson Boone, but in a pretty funny, charactery way, as Ben Stiller is capable and want to do. So that one actually looked a lot better to me than the McConaughey one. The McConaughey one was like, actually felt like they were on fumes. He's like suspicious that the 49ers mascot is named Sourdough, which is a bread.
Oh, is it?
Your name's Sourdough, which is a bread.
Is it
Football is an excuse to sell food, man, and I'm on to you. And he's like eating a piece of sourdough as he talks. I mean, it felt like nobody, including Sourdough, wanted to be there for this commercial.
And who is the mascot? It's like because I remember
it's a 49er, but
it's
his
a
nickname is
49er.
Sourdough.
Okay, that's right. I couldn't quite remember because I remember seeing it with the sound off. That campaign started strong because like his whole thing is like football is here to sell food, man. And he was sitting on the couch with, I want to say, maybe McCaffrey, but this goes back like over a year ago now. And it was actually started off really good, but I could see, and then remember they started putting in another actor in those Uber Eats commercials, the guy from The Hangover. He's in a bunch of them. And he's in a boardroom.
Ed Helms?
No. Are you joking? I know he's in there.
No,
but
he's in The Hangover.
Who's the handsome man from The Hangover?
Oh, Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. And he's trying
What if I
to be
said Zach Galifianakis, who I think is underrated handsome, by the way. Very handsome man.
Yeah, I
Zach
think so, too.
Galifianakis.
I still can't
Truly-
believe that one meme is not him. That gif of
yeah.
Is that Robert Redford? Who is it that turns
Yes,
around?
it's Robert Redford. Robert Redford.
I don't know if we ever got to that. That was in the show sheet a while back, like a year or like a half a year ago. I don't think we ever talked about it because you were like, a lot of people don't realize this is not Zach Galifianakis. I learned in that moment that it wasn't Zach Galifianakis.
Andrew, the only handsome redhead from yesteryear that I'm interested in talking about is Dick Hammer. Do you know who Dick Hammer is?
I do. I'm just trying to place it. And also, I thought you were tying it into our final donor of the day, and I was like, how do you know she has red
I was.
hair?
This is one of Aaron McNamara's favorite dazzling details about Sam Darnold. By the way, Aaron's in Westmont, Illinois.
Dick Hammer. Yeah. His dad, right? The Marlboro Man.
Granddad.
Right. Granddad, the Marlboro Man. Yes.
Sam
okay.
Darnold, our quarterback, his granddad was one of the 4 original Marlboro men, and his name was Dick Hammer. He also played in the Olympics. He was on the U.S. men's volleyball team in the like the 1940s Olympics.
Mm-hmm. And he also, and this, I'm not saying this as a joke, but it is notable that he was the Marlboro Man who died of lung cancer, which I remember.
He
when
did.
that
I
came
didn't
out.
know that part.
I think so. Yeah.
I remember because I remember being a kid and hearing about a Marlboro Man had died of lung cancer, and that, of course, being a stern lesson about what cigarette smoking will do to you. But I didn't realize that was Dick Hammer. I guess he had a 1 in 4 chance. Considering there was 4 Marlboro Men of the 4,
just like Plashke. I did confirm it. He did, and again, I'm not trying to erase that for. I'm not trying to dunk, but yeah, that stood out to me as well. Can I ask you a question? And I'm going to make things really uncomfortable here. We can cut this out if you want. But I didn't understand. You were going back to this Instacart commercial, which, by the way, I'm going to read the description for you in a moment off of the official site just so we can get some clarity on it. But you said there's dressed like Siegfried and Roy without the sex thing. What is the sex thing?
Well, Siegfried and Roy were partners in life.
They were? I didn't know that.
And the Instacart thing is Ben Stiller's playing the older brother of Benson Boone.
You know, I'm going to say one of the stupidest things I've said on this show, which is, a statement. But for some reason, I was like, oh, yeah, Siegfried and Roy, they're brothers. They have different names. That would have been my first clue that they're not brothers. We're brothers. We have different last names. I mean, it happens, but that would be going against the grain there. Oh, I did not know that they were partners. They were partners, or did they? Say husband?
I sure hope they were, because I have always, I don't think they're brothers, but I also assumed that they were partners both in life and in their performances. And I think that was kind of a known thing, but I guess I never actually, I never independently confirmed it. The New York Times has not independently confirmed this information yet.
What does AI overview say?
Let's see, I'm on there. It also could have been one of those things. Let's see. Okay. According to Wikipedia, Fischbacher and Horn, those were their last names, were romantically involved, though details were never disclosed, likely to avoid any negative effect on their careers for biases against homosexuality. They lived together at Jungle Palace, a Moroccan-themed 8-acre estate in Las Vegas they called Little Bavaria, although they had separate houses on the property since 1996. In 2007, they came out in the National Enquirer, but they reverted to their preferred state of privacy. So
interesting.
That
okay,
seems like it was. It's verified.
Here, sometimes these are humorous, sometimes not. I didn't have a chance to scan this whole thing, but I'm going to read to you the description of this commercial with Ben Stiller and Benson Boone. Ben Stiller and Benson Boone sit side by side in matching green 1970s outfits, trying to harmonize like musician brothers. Benson jumps into a high pitch and the harmony breaks, sparking bickering as Ben tells him to sing more like a man. They try again, but Benson drifts right back into the high keys and the harmony falls apart once again. Tune into Super Bowl 60 on February 8th, 2026 to see the bickering brothers if they can find their rhythm with Instacart.
Okay. That's that pretty much. But the thing that I feel like we saw, I don't know if they were singing in that one, but Ben Stiller was doing a funny thing where he was basically saying like to Benson Boone, like, you are grown like an adult, but your brain is small like a child's or something. It was like, I actually kind of like thought that like, I don't know if they wrote, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if they wrote that for Ben or if that was like the umpteenth riff they did, but I thought it was actually pretty funny.
Can we take a listen to this? Because again, I've seen it, and I don't know. Like you said, they might have released a couple of these yesterday, so not 100% sure this is the same one you saw, but this is the one that matches the description I just read.
Say, hey,
Instacart lets you choose your bananas. Get them just how you like.
What are you, a mouse?
I don't sing low, though. It's a harmony. I'm harmonizing.
I don't like it.
Okay.
I never liked it.
I am sorry.
Instacart, I am little boy who has a mustache.
Try singing, huh?
Would you like to go again?
Yeah, go again.
Say, hey.
Instacart
Oh,
lets you...
my God, goodness. My goodness.
That's pretty good.
Can you find the one where they're sitting next to each other, sort of like on directors' chairs? And I think they've got like an Instacart bag next to them.
Yeah, that is it. They're sitting on directors' chairs, Instacart right between them.
Well, interesting because they must have done a bunch of them because the one that we were watching yesterday during the game, it didn't have them singing. It was them maybe before or after that moment. And again, I thought it was pretty funny, but I don't know how I would describe it.
I think this one is they're both in the same exact set here. Let's take a look.
I am Gary.
I'm John.
And we are excited to sing for you. And this football game.
Hopefully many goals.
And fun time.
It is a different football. They touch down.
You just ruined the take now.
I'm telling you, it is just...
And I'm telling you, you're just my little brother. My young little brother. With big mustache and big muscles, but still little boy head. Huh? Still little boy mind.
I hate you.
But we call him John. And we're gonna perform for you.
Little boy head, little boy mind.
They got me. I'm interested in seeing where this goes. They got me.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you to our donors.
Indeed.
We don't have that Instacart money yet. We don't have that you face money. Who are you facing? So we need the donors, and we couldn't do this without you.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
All right, Andrew. I'm going to level with you right now. It's Miami. I'm looking outside. We've got another hour or two of sunlight.
Oh yeah.
We can talk TikTok tomorrow. Let's talk Seahawks right now. And the incredible sort of like the highs and the lows of yesterday. You said you watched it, the Eagles. There was something else I think that you were going to talk about related to just the experience of the game for you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that like. And this is weird coming from me because I started the season so chill, bro, on football.
Yeah.
Like, I'll catch a game here and there. I wasn't watching all of the games as doing my other Sunday stuff. And then, I feel a little bandwagony because it got more and more, kind of interesting with the Seahawks just continuing to win and then having I think they had their best winning record franchise history. Am I right about that? 14 wins, I think is.
Yes, most wins ever. It does help that they added a game
to
the season.
Of course, yeah. Still, though. So anyways, as you know, I've been getting more and more into it. But then it was kind of funny because yesterday I wasn't even sure I wanted to go to the Eagles, to be honest with you, because I felt like all this week I was not entertaining the Burbankian mindset of optimism. I was feeling pretty pessimistic about this game. I thought that it was going to be a close game, that the Seahawks were going to lose, and that it was going to be really, really heartbreaking, which is kind of funny coming from a guy who didn't really care about football that much, supposedly 6 months ago. But knowing that I was going to sort of be really bummed if they lost, and even more so, I think, to the hands of a rival like the Rams, I was really starting to get into that, like, I just do not want to see the Rams celebrating in Seattle, going to the Super Bowl or whatever. And it sort of felt, I don't know, like whatever. I was pretty concerned about my mindset. And so I was like, I think I'm going to watch this one at home, even though I'd been watching the past couple of games with the gang at the Eagles. But I knew your brother might be coming to the Eagles, and I haven't seen your brother in forever. So I was like, well, if your brother's coming, then I'll definitely go. And so I checked in with him on Saturday, and he said, yeah, I'm going to be there. And I was like, all right, then I will be there as well. But I did send a note to the whole crew just saying, like, I'm going to see this game with you guys at the Eagles, but I'm pretty anxious about it. So if I'm like super not communicative at times, like, please don't take it personally. Just sort of like setting the groundwork for that, or setting expectations for my behavior a little bit if I turn inward, which I did. Like, I realized, and I think it took me a little bit of reflection this morning to figure out exactly what was going on with me yesterday. But I think what happened was never once during that entire game was I convinced that the Seahawks were going to win. And after that taunting penalty, I felt like it was a fait accompli that they were going to lose. I was like, well, that's the moment.
It was so hard to not feel that way.
It
in
was
that
just,
moment.
and so and that happened. Did that happen kind of near the beginning of the third quarter? Was that happen right after the half?
It was at the end of the third quarter, I believe.
Oh, the end of the third quarter. Okay, because it felt like it loomed larger over the game than just one quarter to me. But those were just my emotions. But once that happened, I was convinced we were going to lose, and there was a big chunk of the game where we were still up by, I want to say 4. And
we were never, after we scored that touchdown to end the first half, we never had a lead that was less than 4, which against a lot of teams with the Seahawks defense, you're like, you don't feel great, but you're like, even a field goal doesn't tie this. You feel like you're in the driver's seat. It never felt like that.
Yes, exactly. And so, and it was after that, and it was after that penalty that just felt so, I don't know, laden with the fate, or I don't know what the word I'm looking for there is, but just felt so fateful, honestly. And I was convinced we were going to lose. And then I started getting like pretty sour, like just in my own head, not saying anything, but our friend Katie, it was not too long after that she's like, well, let's get a big, group photo of all of us here. And nobody had to get up or anything. We're just sitting there. But like I hope I never see that photo, because I'm sure I am not looking at the camera and I am not smiling. I will tell you that much, because I was just kind of like, this, I can't do a group selfie right now. Like but again, we're up by 4 points. So I'm not saying that Katie was doing anything wrong by doing this, but in my head, we were going to lose this game, and it was going to be a very tough thing for me to watch Puka Nacua celebrating on the field, and so I'm just, and by the time the game ended, I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, oh, that feeling I had was until literally those last 3 seconds drained off the clock because their receiver didn't quite get
was
out
technically
of bounds.
down in bounds.
I don't even think I realized that was Nacua, but and then we watched it, and then everybody just screamed in celebration. By the end of the game, by the way, I had left the table we were sitting at and just was pacing in the back of the room, which then led to like 4 other people doing the same thing. And then we all needed to pace, I think, and not even, I don't mean of our crew, I mean of other tables and stuff. People needed pacing room, you know what I mean? And so like, there was a bunch of us kind of in the back of the room. Your brother, I think, was one of them too. Some guy I didn't know. We're all just kind of pacing and being nervous, because I lived that whole game ready for the pain of the loss, even during the large chunks of the game where the Seahawks had the lead. And I think that at one point somebody did say, Andrew, you look stressed. And it was like somebody who kind of came, clearly not that big of a football fan, but somebody who was like kind of there because this is a fun time to hang out with your football fan friends. But I was just kind of like, I am stressed. I am the one who stresses. Like I could not pretend to be social and in a good mood, because I was ready to just like go crazy when we lose and tie it all to one guy's jawing at the opposing team's sideline.
I was in exactly the same sort of mental state. I kept trying to remind myself, we do have the lead. We do seem to be demonstrating the ability to move the ball on offense, but the game just felt so precarious. It felt like almost like we were playing from behind the whole game, because we were so we were having such a hard time stopping Matthew Stafford that it just felt like anytime they got the ball, they were likely going to score a touchdown. So we had to keep scoring touchdowns to stay ahead, because it felt inevitable what they were doing. And so because of that, a 4-point lead, which under normal circumstances, again, with the Seahawks defense, should just be like, okay, we're in a good position here. It just felt like at any moment they're going to score a touchdown and suddenly we're going to be behind. And now Sam Darnold's oblique is going to flare up. And now, like, Jared Verse is going to sack him. And like, I was with you. This is a very weird side note to the whole thing, but like, I was trying to not let my brain go to the fact that if the Rams beat us in 2 weeks, the Super Bowl was going to be the Rams against the Patriots, because like there would be nothing in that game for me to root for. Peace and love to our friends who are Patriots fans and our friends who are Rams fans, but there's just like not two teams that I root for. If the Eagles got in there against the Rams, and if hell, if the Arizona Cardinals got in there, like there's a whole bunch of different teams that could be playing each other where I could figure out a rooting interest. I can't freaking break out of the escape room. Okay, I don't know the code to get out of the escape room that is Rams Pats for me. Like, just there's nobody in that situation I like. So that would have just been extra bummer. Like 2 weeks of like hype around the Rams and the Patriots, and just sitting on the sidelines, and then realizing that like that whole Sunday, I'm going to be eating a deviled egg, and I'm going to look up, and I'm going to have to see, cut to Mike Vrabel, who, by the way, I don't particularly dislike Mike Vrabel. I kind of have no opinion on him, but just like cut to delirious Pats fans or cut to delirious Rams fans. And just like, that was going to extra ruin it for me. Like, I can live with the Seahawks not being in the Super Bowl. It happens most years. But then I've got to figure out, okay, well, what is the thing about this game that I find interesting? And I was like struggling to think of what that would be if it was Rams Pats. So anyway, but I was also at the same time trying to not allow myself to continue raising the stakes in my own mind of the whole thing, because like you, I kept waiting for that moment where the bottom dropped out. I kept waiting for that moment where there was a 60-yard pass where the free safety falls down and there was a Ram just sauntering into the end zone, and they cut to apoplectic Seahawk fans, and we realized that everything has shifted, and now the Rams are leading and are in the driver's seat. I kept waiting for that moment to happen.
Me too. Even that, what did they have when they started their final drive, which I think ended up being 3 total plays?
It was like 29 seconds or maybe even less. It might have been 20
even
seconds.
Less. Yeah, it was somewhere between 20 and 30. And yet
it felt, I was standing out on the balcony, like watching through the open sliding glass door, because that seemed like way too much time for them. Like Matthew Stafford, who has a gun for an arm, even at age whatever he is, 37, him from the 50, like if Nakua would have just like gotten a cleat out 1 second earlier and they get to actually like throw a Hail Mary from the 50, I don't like our chances on that, even though it's a very low probability play. Like here's actually what I said about the Reek Woolen play. I wrote on Blue Sky because, again, I was just processing my feelings in a million different directions. My initial thing was take his helmet, kick him off the team right now. And for the people that don't know, this is a weird thing for me to clarify, because if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't care what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
There's like me explaining, it doesn't matter. You either know what I'm talking about or you don't. But it's this guy for the Seahawks named Tariq Woolen, who was extremely good in his first couple of seasons, do you know he has the most taunting penalties of anyone in the NFL this year?
No.
He has 3. No other Seahawk has more than 1. The Seahawks, as a team, lead the NFL in taunting penalties, by the way. Reek Woolen had 2 costly taunting penalties in the beginning of the season, to the point where they almost traded him or cut him. There was very real talk that he was not going to be a Seahawk. They kept him around. He sort of got it together and was getting back to being a reliable, good player. And then for him to do this, the Seahawks had stopped the Rams on a critical drive, and we're about to get a punt and get the ball back. Tariq Woolen, by the way, could have intercepted that ball. He sort of didn't. Then he goes over to the Rams sideline.
Puka does a really good job of
playing defense, which, by the way, I've noted him doing in both of the last 2 games against the Seahawks. There were critical plays where the Seahawks could have picked it, but Puka Nacua turned into a DB. So add that to the resume for that guy. I mean, whatever his politics are, he's a pretty phenomenal football player. But then this guy, Reek Woolen, then goes over to the Rams sideline and is jawing with them, even though the umpire's like, hey, man, you got to go to the other side. And he can't just like turn on his heel and run towards his sideline. He keeps saying stuff to where a flag is thrown. By the way, I actually don't think that kind of unsportsmanlike should impact the previous play. If we can just get X's and O's. Now, I know I'm saying that because it almost lost the game for us, because they ended up extending the drive for the Rams, who the very next play threw a touchdown on the guy that Reek Woolen was guarding. So that's about as bad as I've ever seen it happen for a particular player in a high-impact game like this, a high-pressure game. But don't you think it's kind of silly? There are lots of plays that are dead ball plays that don't affect the outcome of the play. For instance, if Tariq Woolen would have intercepted that ball, right, and then he starts running it back, and then somebody for the Seahawks does a crackback block on the Rams, does an illegal block on the Rams, and they're trying to tackle Reek Woolen, that doesn't change the interception. You just lose whatever it is, 15 yards. Like, I think, honestly, and I would be okay with this in both directions, even if it impacted us negatively. If the play is over, the play is dead, the whistle has been blown, the pass is incomplete, to me, the action is done. The Rams, I guess the question is, well, how do you enforce that? Because it's 4th and 12. Where does the penalty get walked off?
Well, they have other penalties. I could not agree with what you're saying more. That's why I was confused in the moment that it would be applied to the previous play, because there are there are a lot of, like, if you have a block in the back on a kick return, that penalty is applied to where the ball is going to be placed for the next play, right?
Well, I guess the problem with my logic is they still have a play on 4th down. So in other words, if you said that Reek Woolen did something illegal, he was taunting, the Rams still have the ball. It isn't after the punt. That's what I was kind of I was confusing that in my mind.
Right.
Like, so it's 4th down for the Rams.
Yeah.
Reek Woolen has violated the rules. There are yards to be assessed.
Yes.
How do you assess them? You sort of have to. I guess what I mean is,
that's right.
Because I believe also, I might be wrong about this, but if that were a 4th down play, I think it could have extended the play. And that, I think, would be a problem. It was a 3rd down play, so I guess there's no logical way to deal with it otherwise. But I think, let's just say on 4th down, if you do something dumb after a 4th down play is over, it should not give a first down to the team that was trying on 4th down. It should just be assessed against you. Because the play was over, you stopped them on 4th down, and now your offense is going to have to deal with the fallout from whatever you did from a yard standpoint.
But now I'm just going to confuse things even more, though. But I guess I don't. That's usually a 15-yard penalty, right? So that's why it becomes first down. Maybe it is applied to the next play, but it was 4th down. But with the penalty yardage, it now becomes an automatic first down. That happens on a hold.
Well, automatic first down doesn't mean that the yardage is achieved. Automatic first down is a type of penalty. So, for instance, if it's 4th and 15 and there's defensive holding, that's a 5-yard penalty, but it's an automatic first down.
But I'm just asking here. But let's say that you have. And maybe this is what you just said, but I need to get this clear in my own head. This is not for the podcast, by the way. This is just you and I talking.
We're not recording.
We're going to record.
Becca's not waiting to go to the pool.
Somebody please just lean on Nixon's delete button for a little bit here, because
Halderman.
I know that there is something that's an automatic first down, but then aren't there also penalties that are just like, let's say, that penalty is the shortest yardage penalty a 10-yard penalty? Are there any 5-yard? There are 5-yard penalties. So let's say that
they're even shorter. Technically, they are half the distance to the goal,
right? When
like
you're in
2
there,
yards.
But
that's a weird side category.
So let's just say that you are in a position, you're on offense, and you have it's 3rd down, and you have 3 yards to get a first down. And you don't quite get it on your play, but then there's some sort of penalty that awards you 5 more yards. That puts you past that first down line, and it's not an automatic first down, but by the very nature of getting those yards, you have achieved a first down. Wouldn't that have been the case in this case?
Yes. It was both. It was both.
I missed that.
So,
guy.
yes, because it was 15 yards, it would have, just the yardage alone would have made it a first down for the Rams. It also happens to be the kind of penalty that is itself an automatic first down penalty.
Okay.
So there's a weird category of that. Some aren't, and some like offsides is not an automatic first down. So like, let's say you're on offense and it's 3rd and 10 and the defense jumps offsides, neutral zone. That's a 5-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down. So now they're at 3rd and 5. Whereas if on that 3rd down play, you hike the ball, your receiver is trying to run out like Cooper Kupp was, and the guy is hanging on him, that's defensive holding. It's, I believe, maybe also 5 yards, or it's like illegal contact. It's also a 5-yard penalty, but it's automatic first down. So you could be like 3rd and 30. And if they called an illegal defensive hold, automatic first down, even though you're only advancing 5 yards from the penalty.
Well,
there also are the ones, like you said, where the yardage itself, because you could do this. You could be, I'm trying to think of a lot of the defensive ones, well, of course, only defensive ones are going to be in the category potentially of automatic first down. But like there are times where something happens and you advance the ball, but it doesn't give you the first down because the penalty as they walked it off wasn't going to be enough to get you past the first down marker.
I want to come back around to this penalty in a way that might open up the conversation a little bit back into...
I'd like to close it even more narrowly if we can.
Because I think that I have to maybe apologize to my dad if that's not a good
Bob?
enough teaser for you. So,
Papa, are you listening?
my dad was clearly watching the game live, which is that's an accomplishment anyway. I don't think my father has watched a non-time shifted football game in 25 years since the advent of TiVo. But he loves time shifting things, but he must have been watching in real time, and so he was texting me a couple of things during the game, and I should be careful. I don't think he expects me to read his text on the air, but it was fine. But he's like, "Hey, looking good out there," or whatever, and the team was doing well, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm so glad to have the lead, but I'm still not breathing easy here." And then out of the blue, right after that Reek Woolen thing, he just wrote. And I hope this is okay to share, but he's wrote, "What an asshole," with a bunch of exclamation points. But the thing is, I didn't have the volume on, and it didn't look that bad to me, and I was feeling very defensive in the moment, as was Genevieve, as were probably some other people at the table. I don't remember I don't want to misquote your brother because he'll listen to this. I don't know if he felt like that was a right call by the officials.
He did later say in one of the text chains, I think Hawk Squad, that he thought that was a pretty sus call. The taunting call was pretty sus. So I would say that's an accurate assessment of his perspective on it.
And that's definitely how I was feeling. But of course, I'm rooting for a team, so it's all going to feel, I can't ignore my bias in this case. But I told my dad, my dad was just like, "What an a-hole," and I was just like, and I just wrote back, I'm like, "That's a terrible call." Like that like I felt like that was a really bad call because it didn't look that bad on television. I don't like taunting calls anyway, but I sort of understand it. Like after a big play, when you stand over somebody who you just knocked down or intercepted from or something, and you're potentially maybe even straddling him and looking down and saying shit or doing anything.
Yes.
There's been a lot of spitting this year or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all of that stuff. Like, okay, we can talk about taunting and whether or not those taunting calls should even be called at all. But in this case, it just looked like a man was jawing with a sideline that was jawing at him. It just looked like a lot of jawing, and it felt like a bad call to me in the moment. But now I think that maybe I was caught up in the moment, and I didn't hear the announcers. My dad was like, "Oh, well, the announcers seemed to think it was pretty egregious or whatever," and I didn't hear what Tom Brady was saying, and so I just kind of moved on. And now this morning I'm kind of like, oh, I'm not seeing a lot of even Seahawks fans saying that was a terrible call. Was I just in the wrong there?
Well, it's funny, the difference between watching it at the Eagles with a bunch of people and me watching it here with Becca, because and I had the sound on, so that and Lord knows I'm not taking any of my marching orders from Tom Brady about how to feel about stuff, but it was like it didn't seem like a blown call to me as much as Tariq Woolen having very poor impulse control.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like but he wasn't being overly demonstrative. Well, first of all, there's an emphasis in the NFL. You are not allowed to talk to the other team's sideline. Like the thing is, you can do almost any manner of incredibly ludicrous celebration as long as it is directed at your sideline or away from. For instance, like 3 plays later, or whenever it was that the Seahawks got the ball back, there was this sack of Sam Darnold, which was like a totally busted, blocking scheme from the Seahawks. I think we lost 9 yards on it. And the guy, after he sacks Sam Darnold, he steps one step past him and just starts doing some kind of booty dance. And Becca was like, "How is that not taunting?" And I was like, "He's not doing it in Sam Darnold's direction."
Yes, I had the same exact conversation with Genevieve because she's like, "He's yelling at the sideline," and I was like, "Yeah, but it's his sideline."
It's so, you know what I mean? But it's like, this is the insane world of the NFL. It's like you can do almost anything as long as it's not, we don't perceive that it's directed at your enemy. But like what Reek Woolen did, he was just talking. I kept thinking, just if you left your friggin' face mask up, like your muff, like, he had a little kind of sleeve over his head because it was kind of cold. I was like, if you left it up, they can't even see your mouth moving, bro. Just be undercover. Be for real. Like, say what you want to say to them, but just do it low key. Like, do it like John Stockton used to foul people as a Utah Jazz. Like, do it so the ref can't tell. Run back towards your sideline. Take a slightly longer route, and with your mask still up so they can't even see your mouth moving, just say whatever you want to say and then head over to your sideline. Like, it was just, I almost disrespected the technique as much as anything else. From Reek. But it
was a pure lack of control. I mean, that's the thing.
And from a person who has had the same lack of control problems this very season. That's why, to me, it also felt like is this, like you said, is this our fate? Like there was something kind of Shakespearean about the thing that the guy had bad impulse control about taunting people, and it almost got him kicked off the team, and then he got it under control, and then here it is in the most important game that he's probably ever played in his life, certainly. I don't think that Seahawks have been to the Super Bowl since we've had Reek Woolen, and it comes back, and then it extends the series, and then he gets burned on the touchdown, and it just was like, that felt to me like, if it was anybody else, if it was like Jordan Love gets called taunting, I'd be like, that was the dumbest play I've ever seen. It's not part of a pattern. It's not Shakespearean to me. It's not the Achilles heel of Jordan Love, you know? So that was why I was just like, I felt really, really distraught by that, because it felt to me like it was part of a larger, I don't know, Shakespearean or cinematic plot line to the movie that was this football game. But you know
what I'm just realizing now? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I am just realizing that at some point before all of this happened, it might have even been right as the game was beginning, I said something. Oh, if it was your brother, he might be able to back me up, but it might have been to Anita. But I was saying to somebody, I'm like, well, I'm just kind of glad like we don't have DK here to like, because DK,
another
Metcalf
easily triggered dude.
Exactly. He had no like kind of self-control and caused a lot of problems for the Seahawks. And I know I was talking about him yesterday, and I think it was before this penalty, kind of saying like, oh, I'm glad that we kind of play cleaner now, because he was always like a liability out there. He would do something great, but then you would have to, you know, bring it back another 15 yards or something, because he would stand over somebody and jaw at them while they laid on the ground.
Totally. And in fact, with DK Metcalf being a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he's had he had a pretty decent season actually, but he's also, I remember watching a Steelers game or two and seeing him do something that's very DK, where he like does that. He does a really good play, but then he does something that, you know, he grabs a guy by his face mask or jersey, because he's always sort of jawing with these guys, and he gets the flag thrown, and it's just like, I remember thinking, it's like seeing your ex doing something wild online, and you're like, I'm really glad that that's not my reality anymore.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
So I remember having that feeling about DK and being kind of relieved this year. Like, all we've got is there's no other way to say it, Jesus Christ obsessed Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, you didn't have the sound up, but it was like, he had such a great game, and I love him so much. And I say this with peace and love to our listeners who are people of faith, but like, we get it that you like Jesus, dude. Like, he gets interviewed on the sideline after the game by whoever the national reporter is on Fox, and they're like, how are you feeling? He goes, long pause. Well, I just have to give all of my thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Okay, we're used to this, by the way, as viewers of sporting events. That happens. But like, okay, thank you. You've gotten that in. Now let's move on to the X's and O's. And he's just like, the way that he has just blessed me and made this possible and brought me to Seattle, and that I can even have my life. And I'm like, oh, Pastor Smith and Jigba, calm it down. I want to hear how you ran that curl route that got you open for that touchdown. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh, and then
I did find it interesting when Matt Stafford blamed Jesus Christ for the loss, though. That was
respect his honesty.
Yeah,
I respect his honesty.
We were in this game until Jesus betrayed us.
That's right. And then it was like he ends up, Jackson Smith and Jigba ends up on the platform, you know, for the big celebration. And I'm like, and they bring him over, and it's like, what's he doing? Gets on the mic. He's thanking his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm like, we heard you the first time. It was 4 minutes ago.
I know.
I thought I was going to get more love from you on my Josh Naylor joke. I thought that was pretty solid.
On the text chain?
I was saying, like,
little
Pete,
bit
Josh
dizzying.
Naylor on the back of the podium not wearing the victory T-shirt.
Yes. You know, there's a really cute photo of him before the game of him wearing a Seahawks jersey. I don't know if he was there or rooting from afar or something. So I think and also by that time, I think there was just a lot going on, and I think things got a little bit swirly for me later on.
Sure.
By that point. But oh my God, when we actually won, I'm still a little bit like, just like, I don't know. Like I said, I was so geared up for heartbreak yesterday that the win felt just especially good. I feel like I still am not quite like, oh yeah, like the Super Bowl, like this is happening. And like, this is how negative I was. And by the way, you know me. I don't spread my negativity around. I know that like it can be a bummer for you guys on the chain, and we talk about our friend who does that a little bit too much. So I'm conscientious of that. But like, I was in such a pessimistic mood that I was, and I'm sort of just realizing this now, Luke, no joke, as I was sort of kind of casually following the game that came prior to this, which was, the Patriots-Denver game to decide which one of them would go to the Super Bowl.
Beautiful game, by the way. I mean,
right?
artism at its highest form.
Well,
I mean, granted, the snow didn't help, but give me a break.
Right.
Talk about a couple of lousy teams.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, for weeks and weeks now, as I've been listening to just random sports radio on satellite, the doggies gotcha or gotcha covered or like wherever I'm getting all my information from, some of it local, a lot of it national, though, it just sort of seemed like everybody agreed that whoever got out of the NFC is going to win the Super Bowl because the NFC just looks so much better than the AFC. And then especially when it comes down to these two teams now. But I was still sort of rooting for Denver. I know that a Seattle Patriots matchup, there's some like sort of sweet vengeance there potentially or whatever. But I also thought that Denver with a totally backup quarterback was just like a little bit more like the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood licking his chops, asking like, oh, give us Denver. But this is where my pessimism comes in. I think a big chunk of me was pre-bummed listening and watching to that game thinking, I'm so bummed that the Rams are going to be able to just devour this. Like, I think I was like, seriously, I'd really, truly.
That's your brain trying to emotionally protect you, I think.
Maybe. I was just like, because I really did think that, like, and this might sound bananas, like, I just did think that. And I don't even know fully what this means, so don't examine it too closely or ask any follow-up questions. But it just sort of felt like the Rams were maybe more of a complete team. It just sort of felt like, yes, that touchdown in the first 13 seconds of the last game we played was amazing, but you can't bank on that. You can't bank on a kick return for a touchdown. It just sort of felt like you just would feel more comfortable rooting for the Rams, given all things being equal. They just sort of seem like their offense
except
versus
one
our
phase,
defense.
and that's what they lost on.
The phase?
Well, there's three phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. And you're right,
special teams, yeah.
And that's they fired their special teams coach after the last Seahawks game that they lost.
Somebody had mentioned that. I don't think I was clocking that. I think your brother.
And
told me
then
that,
I think the pivotal play of the game was that muffed. Well, if you if you don't count Reek Woolen, that muffed fumble kickoff, the punt rather. I was going to get there. That was the only way that we won the game. Obviously, was because of that, and then the touchdown to Bobo right afterwards. And that's the only phase of the game that we were, I think, consistently better than the Rams in every game this season was the special teams phase. And that was one of the things that I think Sam Farmer was writing about in the LA Times today, was just that like the Rams special teams have been terrible all year, and it's kind of what lost them the game.
Yeah, and I guess you're right, and that's and then that was also our special teams in San Francisco, or playing San Francisco the week before. Yeah. So I guess you're right about that. But it just sort of, I just was so, and I'm just sort of again like kind of processing my feelings, because yesterday I was just feeling whatever I was feeling, as we already talked about in the show, and then getting obsessed with the game, but then being just like poised to be angry. Like I get conspiratorial minded with certain teams like the Rams and Kansas City under Mahomes. Like it just, I can start to feel like I don't like who I become, because I start thinking like it does feel like they really want the Rams to win more when you're talking about the officiating or whatever, and maybe that's just not fair. But I was just like, I was so sour until it was all over.
Yeah, it was so stressful. But and I really got to wrap up my portion here. I totally authorize you to go on as long as you'd like.
No. I get it. We've also got. I don't know if you noticed, your echo cancellation just kicked back on too. So we got to get out of here.
Were you able to turn that off from your end?
I can't, because we are recording there, but it doesn't matter. We're wrapping up now anyway. But okay. I think that's the universe telling us like we're done here.
I will have so much to say in the coming days and weeks about what I think about us and the Super Bowl and stuff. I will just say, the thing that I was really impressed by with the Seahawks yesterday was their ability to convert these third downs when they needed to. And these were not big plays. These weren't flashy plays. It was like a throw to Ken Walker, the third, when we were really, after we had stopped them on fourth down, and then we were deep in our own territory, and it was third and something, and they threw this little route to him where he had to catch the ball and then curl back in and beat two guys, and he got the first down there. The Cooper Kupp catch, where he hauled it in and then extended to get the first down, whether he did or not, who knows? They called it a first down. There were just these little gritty moments where Sam Darnold found someone on like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. Those are such hard downs to convert. And if any one of those doesn't get converted, we're punting. And I unfortunately think the Rams are going to come down and score on us. So like, it's easy to think about like these hero, these 50-yard pass to Jackson Smith and Jigba or whatever, or even Reek Woolen, who I'm still mad at and will forever be mad at. But like, there were just these couple of like these plays that just no one's going to talk about that I was just like, that's the game. Poor Becca, kept being like, that might be the game. That might be the game. Like I just kept saying that about like a 3rd and 7 completion, because it was like, if we don't do that, we're punting from our own 10. And now this is a totally different football game.
That's very Durzian of you as well.
Well, you know what? You tell him what's up, Doc.
But he's just kind of like, that's the game. That's the game. That's the game. I got a text message. I got to say,
I'm saying it in the positive.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like after it's been converted.
I'm saying the Seahawks may have just salted this game away by converting that 3rd and 8 there.
I see. Yeah.
So it's, not to nitpick or to constantly try to be the anti-Durs, but yeah, I am much more inclined to say that might have been the game, as in we might have just won that game, which only shapes up about half of the time.
I got some listeners. It's always it's very nice to hear from listeners. Like, first of all, this is really funny. I hear from so many listeners who will text me, because again, I get texts at the TBTL voicemail line. I get the text on my phone, and people are always checking in. How is Durs doing? People will like write in to be like, how is Durs handling all of this or whatever? And I got some of those yesterday. And I'm going to say this very, very gently, and I don't want to make the person who sent this feel bad. And I honestly don't know who this person is. It's somebody who texts in sometimes, but I don't have their name saved in the phone, so I have no idea who this person is. But after that Reek Woolen penalty, somebody texted in to say, boy, it'd be a shame if that keeps you from going to the Super Bowl or something like that. And they weren't saying that to taunt. They were saying that in, like, supposedly in a supportive way.
Right.
But I was just kind of like, yeah, it would. Right. Like, I'm aware of this fact. I don't need this right now. No offense to the person. I know that you meant that in all good spirits and that you were rooting for us, but in the moment, I'm like, yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking right now, friendo.
I had somebody who I really love, who's in, I'll just say, the far extended version of, I guess you could say, my family, just somebody who I am really am a fan of, and they texted me right after that play, sorry to interrupt your vacay, but are you watching the game? They used the word vacay, and they asked if I was watching the game. And if I could have picked this condo up with Hulk-like strength and just tossed it into the Atlantic Ocean, I would have.
I love that you point out the vacay thing, because you're right. That is, me and my hubby are going on vacay. Those are like two words I just can't, I don't abide by. I've never really examined that before.
I just showed it to Becca. And of course, because Becca's a normal person, I was like, can you believe this? And she was like, I don't know. It's like, doesn't seem like that's not, injurious to you. Yeah. I was like, it does hurt me. It hurts me bad.
Hey, you know what I just saw when we started talking about this? And I was just sort of Googling around while we're talking. I did not see Reek Woolen's apology on X, the everything app. Did you see what
I
he
saw
posted?
it. I heard it.
I didn't. Okay. I don't know if he did more than one, or maybe does this GIF have audio? I just see the picture of a little cartoon fox in meme writing that says, "I'm sorry, do you still love me?" And he just wrote "no more taunting penalties." Is this what you saw?
He apologized. He said the right things, and I believe it. I just don't know. I believe that he means it. He definitely said the right stuff.
That's good.
I just, I just worry. The thing is, those taunting penalties it's the kind of thing that you can plan on not doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're 3 Mick Ultras in, and who knows? Now you're in the moment. Now you're in an emotionally reactive state. So I do think his taunting penalties are done for the season. I do believe that.
Yeah, well, he's got to get through one more game.
One game. He's got to get through 4 quarters, my friend.
But I do sort of find it. So I didn't see the official apology or whatever he said, but I sort of think just releasing a GIF that says without punctuation, "I'm sorry, do you still love me?" with this big wide.
So that's literally from
Fox.
Reek. That's
It's Reek
funny.
Woolen posted that to X at 9:20 p.m. last night. So it might have been after he made his official apology. But I got to say, it's making me laugh. And again, we won, so we can laugh at that. But it's kind of like, I'm sorry, do you still love me? Is very humanizing.
That is actually funny. I will give him credit on that because winning covers a lot of.
Yes.
A lot of it's a pretty big Band-Aid on things. So now that's funny and cute to me.
Yes, it is.
Can you imagine if he posted that and we'd lost?
Oh my
I would have
God.
been like, find him.
Yes.
Find him and get him.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Well, that I think probably is where we should wrap things up today. But I have incredible news. We are going to be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio for you. So if you can, please join us for that. In the meantime, everybody have a great Monday. Hope you're holding up. And hope you're doing as okay as anything can be right now in this moment of our time. And just know that we're with everybody and we feel all the same things you feel in a million different directions. So thanks for being part of TBTL, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.